I'm Al Kresta, President and CEO of Ave Maria Communications. I'm also host of Kresta in the Afternoon, which airs on about 250 Catholic radio stations around the country between 4 and 6 Eastern Time every day. We talk about the things that matter most, everything from abortion to Zechariah. We try to look at all of life through the lens of Scripture and the teaching of Christ's Church. We're looking for conversations of consequence. We broadcast in these studios in Ann Arbor, Michigan. We've been here for 18 years in the Domino's Farms office complex, and we've revised the studios 3 times, I think, in the years since I've been here. But this has been a great home for us. How I got involved in radio was I was running Christian bookstores, and we bought advertising on a particular Christian station. I'd end up in conversation with the station manager. He liked the things I had to say, and then when they wanted to do a talk show, I was one of the folks who auditioned for it. They liked what I did. They kept doing it for 10 years. I was doing evangelical Protestant radio. Halfway through that, I was also pastoring a church, and the questions forced upon me as a pastor made me reconsider the claims of the Catholic Church. I resigned my pastorate, came into full communion with the Catholic Church, and then in time was invited by Tom Monahan, the founder of Domino's Pizza, to begin a Catholic radio apostolate, which we now call Ave Maria Communications. So it's been a long way around. I was born and raised in the Catholic faith, fell away, and then, again, with wandering steps and slow, eventually returned. What do I think Catholic radio does best? It builds up Catholics. It's basically a tool of edification. It's helping engaged Catholics grow more deeply in their faith. We do what I call remedial catechesis. We've just come through a generation where I think everybody would admit there hasn't been really strong catechetical instruction. That's been changing, especially since the Catechism in '92. But we still got a long way to go, and there are many, many Catholics out there who tell us that they're hearing things for the first time. I think that's one of the most common responses that we get. Catholics will hear us discussing one aspect of the faith or another, the nature of the Eucharist, Christ's divinity, the call to evangelize, and frequently we'll hear people say, I've been a Catholic for 30 years. I didn't know that. I didn't know I was responsible for that. So I'd say I think we're especially effective in helping engaged Catholics grow in the faith. The follow-up to that, though, is that engaged Catholics then have the responsibility to reach out to disengaged Catholics and former Catholics to help them experience the same encounter with Jesus that they've had. I think what we're trying to do is remind people that Jesus is calling us to himself. He's saying, follow me. And we need to respond by following him and becoming his disciples. And when a disciple is fully trained, Jesus said, he'll be like his master. So that's our ultimate goal, conformity to Christ, reproducing his life in us. But we do that primarily with people who are already engaged Catholics. The role of the laity in the new evangelization is absolutely essential. I think it was August of 2012 where Benedict XVI urged us as laity to take co-responsibility for the church. He didn't say just collaborate with priests and bishops. He said take co-responsibility for the church. And I think this means, above all, that lay Catholics have to see themselves as disciples of Christ. Benedict went on, in fact, to lay out some of the criteria for these lay Catholics who will take co-responsibility for the faith. They have to be men and women of prayer. They have to be engaging the world positively. They have to have a strong sacramental life. They have to be discerning the signs of the times is one of the phrases that he used. So it means being culturally engaged in some way. When laity take co-responsibility for the church, that doesn't mean they're going to be infringing on episcopal territory or priestly territory. The laity has the responsibility to consecrate the temporal affairs of the world. It's our responsibility to consecrate the world And it's the responsibility of priests and bishops, of course, to consecrate the Eucharist. They provide us the sustenance we need to go about doing the work of the kingdom in the world. There are coaches, there are guides, there are leaders, but the laity are the ones who are actually on the field playing the game. I served as an evangelical Protestant pastor for 5 years, and for 18 years I was in fact involved in evangelical Protestantism in various types of missionary activity. And a lot of times people ask, well, why is the Catholic Church, as big as it is, as much history as it has, with all the teaching authority that it has, why are there so many Catholics who don't seem to embrace their faith with enthusiasm? Well, only God knows. But I think one of the things we can all acknowledge, and John Paul II realized it when he called for the new evangelization. Paul VI realized it when he did his instruction on evangelism in the modern world. Benedict has brought it up. Pope Francis has brought it up. And it's this sad but real problem. Our parishes are filled with Catholics who've been sacramentalized but not evangelized. For whatever reason, they've not heard the voice of Jesus. They have not encountered Christ in a direct way. They haven't been encouraged to live the life of adult discipleship. They haven't pursued what their calling is, what they're gifted at. Baptism gives us, and confirmation strengthens within us, a certain call, a certain giftedness. And without pursuing those gifts, the Church of Jesus Christ can never be built up the way that he intended it. We need everybody's giftedness. We can't just have 10%, 15%, or 5%, according to some people, who are conscious in their discipleship. We need all the cylinders clicking together if we're going to properly evangelize the world. Jesus said that the world has a right to judge whether the Father sent the Son by the degree of observable love and unity that they witness on the part of his disciples. Well, I think on that score, we're not doing a very good job of demonstrating that the Father has sent the Son. But now with the new evangelization, I think things are turning around. I think the hope for American Catholicism is what is commonly called the new evangelization, and that is having, again, engaged Catholics reach out to disengaged Catholics with living out those one another commands of the New Testament. Love one another, serve one another, pray for one another, bear one another's burdens, admonish one another, encourage one another, exhort one another. Sadly, engaged Catholics have tended to congregate around themselves and haven't been reaching out to disengaged Catholics. Now's the time to take the New Testament seriously and really love one another, whether we're engaged fully in our faith or whether we're disengaged. We've got to reach out to one another. That's where the new evangelization begins. It's really, what's new about the new evangelization is who's being targeted. And in this case, the baptized are being targeted. You might call it the re-evangelization. But I do think if there's anything that qualifies as a silver bullet for American Catholicism, it's this new evangelization.